I started in the industry in 1988 in a prehistoric role that they called a gym instructor. In the old days, we used to employ people who would walk around the gym floor and high five and write programs for people and make them feel welcome. Then we worked out that cost too much, so we got rid of those dinosaurs. I pretty much then did every role in the industry right up until 2006 when I made the decision to sell my clubs. And I started chairing Rex Roundtables in Australia. And then in 2020, I started chairing Rex Roundtables in the US. I own the Fitness Business Podcast, which started back in 2015. And I'm no longer in the background in that. I'm actually the host now, which gives me another perspective on the industry, um, which is really cool, but also outside the industry because we probably half our guests are out of industry experts. So a little bit around consumerism and leadership is where we focus there. But I would have to say that I'm fortunate enough to I have, let's call it a ringside seat as our industry continues to evolve in our service offerings. And I'm looking forward to talking about some of those evolutions today.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us. Paul, how about you go next?
Sure. My name is Paul Mazella. I own a club called Eastpointe Health and Fitness in Atlantic Island, New Jersey, which I've owned for going over 25 years now. So that's how long I've been in the business. Had a few different businesses before that and subsequent to it, but that's always been my main focus over the years. I built it from a small little boutique club up to a pretty large full scale business these days with lots of different services. One of our main focuses as we grew was expanding into different fields of wellness.
Mm,
So the club has physical therapy, acupuncture, all these different services, along with fitness, nutrition, group fitness, all that kind of stuff. So we kind of packaged it all together. My brother and I, who comes in more on the medical side of it. And yeah, we've been through a lot over the years. I mean, I've been involved in the day to day, for better or worse, throughout that whole time. So we've kind of experienced everything, a lot of ups and downs along the way, getting to where we are now, including closing down for 5 months of COVID and working through that,
right.
which was real interesting. The club is really based not only on integrated health and integrated help, but also on community and knowing everyone. I mean, the first 15 or so years of the club, I was in there constantly and knew just about every member by name, even as we grew to thousands of members. So now, luckily, I'm not quite as involved in the day to day and can take a little bit broader of a perspective of it. The focus of the club is not only on just fitness, but also recovery and, like I said, integration of the healthcare services that we offer. I mean, that's really key. It's a lot of it is about keeping people going and making getting them through the little challenges that come up with them. Just like we've had our challenges with the business, people have their own in their day to day, and you've got to help them and coach them through it and provide them with the community that they need to stay motivated and with the goal of feeling better and being consistent with their workouts and staying healthy and continuing to make progress. That's what it's all about.
For sure. Well, it's great to have you with us. Matt, how about you go next?
Yeah, excuse me. I'm Matt Remick. I'm one of the owners of the Rochester Athletic Club. My dad started the club in '93. I have been there since 2000, so just past a quarter of a century there. I've been buying shares over the years. From him, I became the majority owner in 2016. Have been president of the organization since 2008. We're a large club. We're one of probably the 15 largest in the US. We're 260,000 square feet under roof. We have just over 500 employees, 6,000 memberships, over 15,000 members. We're a family focus, and so we have a 35,000 square foot indoor park essentially for the 7 to 13-year-olds. We do stuff for youth, whether it's programming, sports specific training, but we really and we cater to individuals, seniors, all ages. But what we really try to be is just a place where there's lots of opportunity, lots of social options, but just a community center that offers a lot of ways for people to exercise if they want. But really, I think wellness has encompassed a whole lot of social stuff that we didn't necessarily understand the importance of until the pandemic. And we've really tried to stress a lot of that, and then leveraging technology to personalize things as much as we can.
Awesome. Well, we're really glad to have your perspective with us today. Before I have John introduce himself, we were going to be joined also by Jason Abucejo. He is the Director of Sales for MXMetrics, a company that helps organizations understand what their members and customers actually experience, not just what they think they experience. They capture the voice of the customer and turn it into clear, actionable insights and help leaders use that feedback to drive retention, loyalty, and long-term growth. Unfortunately, Jason had an unforeseen circumstance that prevented him from joining us live, but he did want me to share that he is sorry about that. And he also passed along some really helpful information for me to share throughout the conversation today. So he is here in part. John, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself as well?
Thanks, Farrelly. My name is John Farrelly, and I'm the Business Development Director for Viking Pure. I started with Viking Pure maybe 6 or 7 years ago, previously having a couple of different industry experience, a lot with operations. I joined into Viking Pure because it very quickly became passionate about their mission. And it's, as I'm in all these different industries doing this, it just gets reinforced day by day, because quickly, a little bit about Viking Pure is our system allows facilities to generate all the cleaning and disinfecting solutions, which are hospital grade, that you need to clean everything and everything in your facility, and disinfect it as well. It eliminates storage and supply chain issues. But most of all, it's created just with water, salt, and electricity, and there's no chemicals or toxins in it. And my previous industry experience, I was exposed to, and I saw many of my employees exposed to this, and I saw the dangers and hazards of it. So that's one of the reasons why I really be passionate about Viking Pure. You know, we eliminate probably 90% of all the chemicals that you have in your facility. And two biggest things, it's completely eliminates the damage to machinery and equipment, but most importantly, eliminates all the harm and exposure to the employees and the members of the facility. So it's kind of easy to get involved in Viking Pure myself, and that's why I'm doing it. And then to be able to experience gentlemen like these and everybody else in the fitness industry has been a blessing.
Awesome. Great. Well, welcome everybody. Let's get into the discussion. First, let's start by talking about kind of what members are experiencing when they're thinking about wellness today. So defining wellness and what it looks like. So JT, from your global perspective, how has the definition of success for fitness facilities changed as wellness has moved beyond just physical performance and the equipment that are in these facilities?
Yeah, first off, John, that's the first compliment you've ever given any of us. So I'm glad we're recording this. Seriously, though, the currency really still for most fitness businesses around the world is, and probably always will be, the number of members that they've got. What we are seeing is a slight shift. So it's just now not the number of members, but the more astute owners like a Matt and a Paul and others, they look towards success being how long we actually keep our members. So it's not necessarily how many members we have, but it's how long we keep them, and that therefore the yield that we gain or the lifetime value that we have of our members. Of course, we call that in our industry retention, and it's measured in months, or hopefully in Matt and Paul's language, years, way beyond months. So what wellness has done has added another service, or in turn, another reason why a member would stay with us. So, you know, we still live in a world where, or we do live in a world where consumers allegedly are time poor, and we probably all would attest to being time poor. But for the majority of consumers, convenience is critical, and as they streamline their life, whether they've got kids or no kids, their streamlining and the efficiencies of their life is critical. So if a club can offer more services to make that consumer's life more efficient, then that convenience is the reason why they stay and we become successful. So therefore, when the clubs have been adding layers of wellness to their facility, you've actually just made the life of your member more efficient, because that's one less place I want to now drag my butt to after a workout or during the week. I can have everything happen under that one roof. Perhaps the challenge, if I can go down that route really quickly, Narelle, is
Mhm.
though we are adding wellness as part of this success model, I think we're still struggling a little bit on staffing, programming, and then growing the wellness market, which we're going to cover today.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is like adding services like, you know, a nutritionist that's on site so that instead of having to go to someone elsewhere, they can group that in with what they're already doing at your club.
Yeah, I like to describe it as like the clubs are now becoming the hub, and then
Mm,
there's lots of things. In the old days, we had the hub, and then we would have physical therapists or dietitians or nutritionists or a wellness that we might recommend in the community to, because in the old days, that's where we got leads for our business.
right.
Now we're taking all of them and welcoming them into our own business at varying degrees of success, and it's definitely a culture shift within organisations for consumers to understand, oh, this is all under the one roof. But when we do that, and looking at Matt here particularly, we have that huge layer of trust. They've trusted us for years around their health, around their fitness side of things. Now they've got this layer of trust of around their health.
It's almost like going deeper too, because like not only is it, you know, I can trust my trainer at this club for good workouts that are actually going to deliver the results that I'm looking for, but because I have that trust with you on that level, I will also potentially trust you with maybe a more sensitive health concern as you've added nutritional services or mental health treatment, whatever it is. I love it.
Absolutely.
That's really cool. I had a question for Jason here, and I'll kind of insert his response. But my question was, when members talk about wellness, like in surveys and in the feedback that Jason and his team are seeing at MXMetrics, what are they really asking for beyond the workouts and equipment? And his response was that the industry is no longer just concerned with physical workouts. They're seeing that facilities are evolving into and becoming more holistic wellness centers. So, kind of those hubs that you were talking about, Justin. And the data that he was seeing from the surveys has helped MXMetrics partners make those CapEx decisions to do as members and leadership expect, so that services support both mental, emotional, and physical well-being, not just access to the plain old equipment. So for members, that wellness kind of idea means clean and safe and inviting environments. They have access to supportive services like mental health, nutrition, recovery. I know, Matt, when you and I were talking before, recovery was kind of a big piece. And I'm sure you'll probably get into that a little bit more later. But then finally, for members, wellness also requires being heard or feeling heard and seen and valued by staff and management. And then for leadership, that wellness idea means kind of member retention, like you were talking about, JT, and satisfaction. And that means healthy, motivated teams, as well as a data-driven understanding of what members really want and need so that they can address those. So any thoughts on that before I have a question for Paul? No? Okay. So Paul, bringing in kind of that idea of overall well-being in the fitness environment being heavily impacted by the community, would love to hear from you from the perspective of how community and personal connection factor into wellness for your members at Eastpointe, and why you think that's become so important for them today.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very important. I mean, people want to feel comfortable in the environment they're in. Obviously, you know, that's how you build the trust, is making them feel comfortable. And getting to know who they are. They want to feel kind of safe in that environment. We get a lot of people that come in that have never exercised and never been successful at it, giving them some help and support, and not only getting to know us and the staff and knowing people by name, but also getting to know each other and other people in the community. I mean, that's really been part of the secret of our success, and then certainly, bringing that into having those additional services. I mean, that's exactly what we did. I started off just with the fitness center and a little bit of training. We launched group fitness, and then, we got more into personal training and really decided, how we can help people that have never worked out before, to move all the way through the process of becoming a lifetime fitness person. And then we added in all the chiropractic, physical therapy, massage, acupuncture, basically everything else that people were asking for. And like Justin said, we did initially do that with a lot of partnerships. It's not anywhere near as effective as having that all there and being able to say, "Oh, your leg hurts, let's go talk to the PT." And admittedly, we're not perfect at it. I mean, I think we're still evolving and learning as everyone is, but having all those things is fantastic. One of the things that was mentioned was the mental health aspect of it, which is huge. And I've been sort of trying to get that avenue available to our members through partnerships and different things. And we're yet to be fully successful out of it. It got me into other businesses that specialized in that. So we had sort of a built-in partnership there that worked pretty well. But definitely giving people that overall support so they're comfortable and they can stay with it and they can get through those low periods in their lives. People today are so overwhelmed and stressed and disconnected, with everything. They come in, they're on their phones, they're there half the time, they're on the phones. Getting them to put that down and just get a sweat in and get a running, whatever it is they're going to do. I mean, we obviously talk a lot about what's the best workout and how to get optimal workout, but at the end of the day, people say they don't want help training, they don't want to do anything. I'm like, all right, well, that's better than nothing. Just get in the door. And if they enjoy the place that they're going, and they feel a little bit of accountability to those other people that are there, whether it be a trainer, an instructor, or other people that they like to work out with or like to take a class with, that's all very important in keeping them in. So I think community is becoming very much more important over the years. I mean, I've seen a big shift in that. And, if you don't have it with the type of club that I have, and, you're really not getting anywhere unless you can get a little bit of community involvement, support, and build that community within your club. And all of that with the goal of keeping people. I mean, like Justin says,
Sure.
it's, we only have a certain number of people in our area. I mean, there's new people coming in and out and more people moving in. It's not a small area, but we're kind of disconnected from a lot of bigger areas by us, by woods and ocean on the one side and everything. So it is really a small population we pull from. So, you've got to keep them. You've got to make sure they're successful. We do a lot of call out, we call customers and people that haven't been in, we do a lot of that kind of stuff to get them going. And I think that's very important, making people feel like someone's looking for them there, because not everyone has that at home, where anyone cares if they're getting healthy or not. So those people, particularly if they don't get that community involvement, their odds of successful go down tremendously.
Yeah. I think also, I mean, hate to bring it up and talk about it, but like in the post-pandemic kind of condition where we are, people are still very much like grasping onto those opportunities for engagement. I feel like we all have a little bit of PTSD, just socially, social PTSD, and just offering more of that community in the fitness environment just gives more opportunity for people to meet that need. So love hearing that. Matt, so you're kind of on the other side of things with a large multi-amenity club. So at the Rochester Athletic Club, how are you designing spaces, programs, and culture to support that mental, emotional, and social wellness, beyond just the physical health?
Yeah. So, for us being the facility we are, it's much more important what we are as a sum of our parts than just the specific equipment we offer. So one of the things that, I think is important is get with a good architect or get with a good designer that you're comfortable with. And I wouldn't recommend going cheap on it, because if members are going to be using that space and using it the way that they do and in the volumes we see, having the right finishes are important. Things that you can sanitize quickly and easily. Proper lighting. I mean, lighting creates so much mood. sound, all those things matter in how the space feels. And how the space feels is really important to members. So, working together, like we intentionally have social spaces. Like we have some lounges around some of the fitness areas that we have that people can have conversations together. We offer morning coffee complimentary for our members before we open in the morning. And there are people that are literally like holding court. It's crazy. It's the same people. And we had to take that away during the pandemic, based on the information we had at that time. And it was the thing we got asked more frequently with more intensity to bring back than anything else. So that free coffee matters. We have some treadmill desks that people can work and walk up to 2 miles an hour doing that. Those are really popular. For us, being family focused, having a space for kids may be the reason that people are coming into the club. So having an environment that the kids will bring the parents in, and then if the parents happen to walk around the track or work out more intensely as a result of just having the freedom of somebody watching their kids so that they can do that, that's good. But just getting them out of the house together and participating in something as a family together is important. I mean, we offer pickleball. Tennis is booming, from the pandemic, and it still is. We're in Minnesota, so indoor activity is pretty important this time of year. Every other weekend, we put inflatables up in our neighborhood, in our family entertainment center. It's called the neighborhood, but we do that and we don't charge anything. And then the little ones can, burn off their energy, whether it's using the obstacle course, the bounce house, the slides, or whatever. And I tell you, if those kids are sleeping better at night, the parents are sleeping better at night. And that's part of being wellness, is making sure people are getting adequate rest. We have a physical therapist office that we partner with that's in our facility. We offer things like sound baths. It's not just fitness. Fitness is important, but it's really offering a whole bunch of activities that can resonate with different communities and then create groups of people that with similar interests meet, and then that connection brings them to the club and makes them feel connected to the business without us having to do that work. If we create the environment, some of that stuff just automatically happens. On the culture side, I mean, we train our employees on our mission and our values, and it's really we're about the experience for members. Part of that is getting the results, but if we take care of the experience and making the experience positive, it's going to be a pleasant place to be. People will return. So those are some of the things we try to do.
Love that. It's the full kind of package that you need. And it also makes it harder for people to leave, which is the idea from a business perspective. But in general, you want, to really create that place that people don't want to leave and they want to kind of do everything there. And bring their kids there. And oh man, when you're talking about sleep, I fully resonated with that. I have a 1.5-year-old. Like, yes, if she doesn't sleep, I'm not sleeping. Neither is my husband. John, question for you. So wellness often focuses on programming and recovery, but then how does the physical environment itself play a role in member health and trust?
Well, speaking with owners and general managers and such, I think to both Paul and Matt's point, as the members come in, and if machinery is worn down or buttons are worn out or broken or something's ripped or bench press is ripped, if a tile is cracked or whatever it may be, it just discourages people mentally and brings them down a little bit. And we want to keep them up, right? That's the reason they come in. They need. We've all been in fitness locations and gyms before. Sometimes it's hard to get there, without a doubt. But once you get there, we need to do as much as we can to keep them happy and keep them motivated. And the physical nature of the building in every aspect, every corner, is so important, because it's just human nature. If you see something doesn't look right, something's dirty or something that's broken. A machine, 2 or 3 machines are broken through 2 or 3 treadmills. It brings you down a little bit, and then you maybe won't come back tomorrow, and that's not a good thing for us. So the physical part of the establishment is, to me, as an operations person, is the foundation. That has to be right. Then we work on the people, but the people have to keep the physical part up, and it's critical. It really is, and I think everybody would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nobody wants to work out in a space that doesn't make you feel uplifted and motivated. So that absolutely makes sense. JT, what separates clubs that are authentically embracing holistic wellness from those that are simply adding amenities and then calling it wellness and slapping a wellness label on it?
I had to think about that one because I do think there are a lot of clubs that do just slap in, as you say, a wellness facility. So my easy answer is seamlessness, if that's even a word. I don't know. Is it a
It
word?
is. It is.
It,
Yes.
it is? Okay.
Yes.
Seamlessness. So let me explain. Firstly, seamless in the branding. The best clubs make wellness feel like part of the brand since day one. So while they didn't have wellness on day one, 30 years ago at Rochester, it's seamless that it now looks like it. Unfortunately, as we say, many clubs just add wellness, which is like, this is a very Australian analogy, but it's like building an outside toilet because you realize there's not enough toilets inside the house. But we can't, so do we can't do the expansion to the house, so we just build an outside toilet. Um, it looked weird. It's not normal. It's different, and that makes members kind of feel a little bit unconscious or subconscious about what's going on. And I really liked what Matt was saying around getting a good designer for that seamlessness. Secondly, seamless in programming. And I think this is where the greatest opportunities for gyms lie. Delivering wellness programs that link traditional gym activities with wellness. When should I do what? Most people don't know that. And when it's kind of slapped together, that continues that process. But that's where the opportunity really lies for
Are
us.
you saying things like, connecting nutritional stuff? Like you should, for example, I'm not speaking from a fitness professional at all, disclaimer, but like you should, have X amount of grams of protein before a high functioning, weight resistance workout or something like that.
Yeah, I think you know, when Matt and Paul both started in the fitness industry and I started, the thing that we did was we wrote programs for people. People
Mhm.
came into the gym and we said, okay, you want to lose weight? Here's the program that you need to follow. And they were generic to a certain degree, and you need to do some strength, you need to do some cardio. And then we got personal trainers, and then personal trainers worked on the programming side of things. But at this point, that's kind of where everything stops. So the opportunity where we now start to embrace that total um, programming side of things. So this is when you need to do your recovery. This is your food, this based on when you're going to work out in the gym. So we look at a member's entire life
Mm.
in that programming. And when we can do that, again, then that's seamless for the member.
Gotcha.
Uh, And then my third point is seamless in staff knowledge. Staff have got to know the features and benefits of wellness products. I would say 9 out of 10 staff would be able to tell me the benefits of doing squats or bench press or cardio. But what percentage of staff could actually tell me why I should use a sauna?
Mm.
Or what does red light therapy do for me? Huge opportunity to upskill and educate our teams in our industry at the moment. So they would be my suggestions. If I had a fitness facility, I think I've got to nail seamlessness, and there's a There's a club in Australia called Function Well in Brisbane, functionwell.com.au. Definitely worth looking up because Darren is a Rex member, but he has also completely nailed that seamlessness between wellness and fitness.
Awesome. Jumping kind of off of that a little bit, I would love to hear from Paul and Matt what you guys think based off of what JT just said, like with regard to seamlessness in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a very important piece of it. I mean, we have thousands of club members and, trying to educate them to a certain extent without being pushy, trying to find the right opportunities. I mean, it's something that, again, talking about difficulties, getting all of your team to understand those things as well as you do, or better than you do in some cases is challenge. I mean, there's a lot of info there. There's a lot of misinformation that goes along with it as well. So, it's really key to have, at least your forward facing people being able to explain it all. And ideally, if you can, be able to pull some of those professionals in. We'll do workshops and seminars with some of our professionals so they can kind of get in and talk to some of those members. You don't get a lot. I mean, there's not going to be in my club, more than a couple of people there, but then you spread the word and you tell people about benefits of chiropractic and acupuncture and all these things. And, eventually, word gets around kind of thing. And as long as you have the experts there to speak to it, that's really important.
That sounds good.
One thing we're fighting today, not always, but is the influencer, right? I mean, TikTok has totally changed how people use our gym. Sometimes they get good information. A lot of times they get bad information. So having our staff aware of what's trending out there and how to educate members on why it's a bad idea and how to redirect them is something that we try to do. One of the things, we had a whole bunch of our weight equipment. People were snapping the balls off where you're hooking up the handles because some influencer out there was saying that was the best way to use it. And so they would use it and it would snap right at the wire. So we re-educated members on how that's not the best way to use it. Here's a modification you could do that would still allow you to kind of achieve what you're trying to using a towel and some other things. But I mean, we have to earn that trust, and you earn that trust by giving information that gets the member the result they're looking for. But you also have to be aware of what's kind of going on and what's feeding into members. I mean, writing programming used to be something that would define a trainer. Now, I mean, they're combating what any AI out there will feed members for what they should be eating, what's the order of this, and they need to have an awareness of what's good information and what's bad information. And how they build that trust is by partnering with the member and getting them the result they're looking for. And we have more information than we've ever had before between wearables, whether you have a ring, watch, band, all those things. Making sense of all the information we have is a skill, and that's what we try to set up our people to the best position possible to filter through the noise and get members information that's personal and practical.
For sure. Oh man. It's the new landscape, like with technology and the tools that are available, also present so many additional challenges. Take learning, understanding, overcoming, or working with, or whatever that means. But that's a great kind of segue talking about the data that we have available from a member standpoint, but then also talking about kind of like the next section that we're getting into in our discussion today, which is data feedback and how those guide leadership decisions within the fitness facility. So I had a question here for Jason, who again is not with us, but my question was how operators can use member data to identify gaps in their wellness experience. So really kind of identifying those spaces where they could take it to the next level with maybe something that they're not already using, and how do leaders prioritize what actually matters most to members, maybe not necessarily what they think matters the most. And his response was that real-time feedback is key. So again, getting into those tools that are out there. So partners like MXM capture the immediate and ongoing member perceptions about cleanliness staff interactions and overall environment. And this data, I guess, provides leadership with the actionable insights to improve physical and emotional wellness. This also provides advanced analytics that take it further so they can identify key drivers of member satisfaction, which are often tied to wellness factors like cleanliness, staff support, and then the overall sense of community that we were talking about earlier. They should also be able to benchmark wellness related metrics against their competitors. And this all around helps them close the feedback loop to make their members feel heard. Definitely want to have a system that allows for rapid response to member concerns. So if a space is dirty, a machine is broken, but then also things like safety and emotional well-being. And this shows members that their voices really matter. It also drives continuous improvement in wellness offerings because you're using that data to kind of drive what changes you're making. This also helps for goal setting because it helps operators set and track goals around wellness initiatives and then enables cleanliness as a wellness kind of pillar, which, as we feel, cleanliness is foundational. And for example, Jason said this, I'm not tooting our horn, but he said that MXN's partnership with Viking Pure Solutions helps highlight a shared commitment to safe and healthy environments. And I think maybe going out a limb here a little bit, but I think that Matt and Paul might echo that a little bit as well with your partnership with Viking Pure, just generally because clean spaces reduce stress and increase comfort and support both the physical and mental wellness in a facility environment. So those are Jason's thoughts, and would love to hear from Paul and Matt specifically if you guys have anything to add on that.
Just getting back into the issue of trust, in terms of, where we were at with COVID, coming out of that was, the products that we had at that point to be able to be, kind of leading the pack in terms of cleanliness and disinfecting and spraying the club, constantly. Those were all things that really came into play in making, because you had to get them comfortable coming back at that point. Getting the customer, that was huge. So being able to show them what you had there in order to really clean the facility properly went a long way in building that trust back and getting people to slowly work their way back in.
For sure.
Yeah, learned new vocabulary during the pandemic. I had no idea what dwell time was before, but needed and understood the importance of it during that time. But it's also, what's effective, what's good for the members and the employees, as John had said, but the equipment too, because we invest in that stuff with the hopes that it's going to last for a long time. And if we're pouring or spraying toxic stuff on equipment, I mean, it lessens the ROI of owning that particular piece of equipment, where we can have something that's not toxic, safe, and keeps the equipment around longer. That's a win all the way around.
Yes, for sure. Okay. John, you want to jump on that? What are you seeing from fitness leaders who recognize that the clean, safe, non-toxic environments are now part of the wellness promise that they're making to members?
Well, it's funny, everybody always from the beginning of time knew that you have to have a clean facility in order to keep people happy. Some of us do it better than others, but everybody strives for that. Now you see that everybody's starting to understand, and it's making me giggle here, because what Paul and Matt and JT are saying is about the education. You got to teach people how to do bench presses and teach people how to do curls and not use equipment improperly. But you also have to know what's in the food, the ingredients that's being served at the clubs, and what type of chemicals and disinfectants they're using around the club. Our employees have to know this stuff. And the owners and the general managers realize this, and they're educating themselves much, much more. There's a lot more questions now in terms of, like Matt just said, he learned some new terms during the pandemic, but it's still going on. That's, to me, it's one of the good things that came out of the pandemic, because people educated themselves about toxins and chemicals and what they're doing, not only to us, the equipment, but the earth in general. And so what I'm seeing now is that continuing of education, more questions. how does it work? Why does it work? How does it affect people? How does it affect the environment? How does it affect my equipment? And it's a fantastic thing to see and to hear. And it's not only the employees. When I'm in these clubs, I hear it from the members as well,
Mm.
and they're asking questions, and they expect us, and they expect the employees of the facility to know the answers. And when you do, building that trust, what we're talking about, really hits hard. It's good. It's good stuff.
Wow. Yeah. Matt, kind of zooming out a little bit, but how have member expectations around wellness evolved over time as far as you've seen at the Rochester Athletic Club, and how has that influenced your leadership decisions?
One of the things, people are looking for more than just space to burn calories or strength train or weight train. I kind of mentioned it before, but social elements are huge. Recovery options, having percussive therapy, having some sort of massage, whether it's, the hydro massage products, the massage chairs, massage therapists. I mean, we have a combination of a couple of those. Those things are important. But not every square foot of your facility has to be about fitness or programming. Other things we try to, be help and guidance outside the four walls. So blogs, as those are still important. They're still some of our most visited web pages, and it positions us as an expert in those areas. Now we happen to be where Mayo Clinic is, pretty famous, medical institution. So we really are intentional about not treading into any of the medicine side, but we can certainly talk about fitness and wellness. And we have a town full of scientists between Mayo and IBM, our largest employers. So we have to show that we are experts in it, or we lose credibility. Using social media, other communications, our app, we're in the process of switching our application because no longer being good in the fitness industry is good enough from a technology standpoint. We're competing against what members' experiences are with Netflix or Amazon. So like if our tool is cumbersome for a member to find and register for programming that they're looking for, we need a different tool. So those are some of the things that we're trying to do. I mentioned before design elements. Atmosphere and feelings matter. How well kept up the place is matters. I mean, we did a large freeway renovation last year, and forever we've always just had black plates. We put in color plates for the first time ever. And plates last a long time. I don't look to replace plates, but we put color plates in with these 10 racks. And one time in a year and a half have I seen the plates out of order. I'm considering replacing all the other plates at the club, colored plates, because that color cue just makes it easier for members to know where things go. And having that space look professional, ready for the next person, those things matter. So those are some of the things we're trying to do to make sure that the environment is ready for people when they come in.
That's the little things. Wow.
Yeah.
Paul, at Eastpointe, how do you intentionally create a holistic wellness experience without the scale or budget of a large club? I know you mentioned kind of the conjoined aspect with your brother's kind of more medical health side of things earlier. So get into that a little bit more, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is, you have to really focus on the things that you can provide. I mean, we can't, in contrast to what Matt can provide at his club and what, Life Fitness, 10 miles away or whatever can provide, we have to be much more intentional and much more specific about what we can do. We can't do everything, unfortunately. So we have to pick and choose the best ones. And do those exceptionally well. I think that's the key to it right there. When it comes to coaching, we don't have a ton of coaches, but we just try and get great ones. That's really key. Quality as opposed to quantity. Focusing on recovery and movement, so that, that's an important part of our training, and that ties into, the physical therapy aspects as well. And it becomes, something where the physical therapists and the trainers all know each other and they know their philosophy, and it, as much as possible, all kind of syncs together. And trying to, we talked about before, trying to educate members. It makes it maybe a little bit easier for us because we can know everyone by name and be able to talk to them, and, getting the right pitch of trying to explain things to them, but also not being, too intimidating or overwhelming people and that sort of thing. So finding the right balance. The reality of it is, when we were more focused on fitness before my brother partnered with us and we moved into all this, what I learned in a smaller club is you don't need a lot. I mean, you look at these training studios that we compete against, because we're kind of right in the middle, right? We got the big clubs we're competing against, and the small training studios. And the reality of it is you don't need a lot of space to get a good workout. You got to want to go in there and do it. So that's kind of what we focus on, really, is having everything you really need without a lot of the stuff you don't. A lot of the stuff a lot of you people don't have time to utilize. So getting in there and getting it done quickly, and making it, seamless, convenient, having everything there where it's in your town and not, the bigger town 3 towns away. I think that's been one of the secrets of our success. Yeah. And, I think it's easier to build culture and to build, community in a smaller environment, because more people will know each other as well. And, that's an advantage that we have over some of the big guys.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of wrapping up today, so we have a minute for any questions, and for our folks attending and joining us today, please feel free to pop those in the chat or in the Q&A section. But question for the group: what is one wellness shift that you think will be non-negotiable in for fitness facilities in the next 3 to 5 years?
I'll tell you what I think, just hearing employees and members.
Yeah.
I think they expect a thorough thought process and execution all the way from the parking lot throughout the facility of what we're calling wellness and holistic, which is not just some fad anymore. It's here to stay. So they want it throughout the facility, in every aspect, not just one class, wellness class or one room in one section, as JT was saying before, maybe a wellness room. They want it everywhere, and because they're choosing to spend their time and their money there, and they want to know that you're thinking about their wholeness and their wellness in every aspect. And that's kind of what I'm hearing a lot lately.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, John.
I think one thing that makes made places unique in the past, was that level of personalization and the trust, that your customers have in you. I think that's just becoming, you have to have it. Once it was something that would differentiate you, and now it's something that I think is just assumed or expected, along with things like personalization, being able to customize programs and things like that were, not necessarily, again, were differentiating factors before, and now, I think are just expected to have, especially facilities like ours that charge, a little bit more than the low cost competitors.
Right.
Yeah, personalization was 100% what I was going to say as well, Paul. Like, we happen to have eGym. eGym equipment hyper personalizes it, because not only does the equipment remember the seats in the lever position for the exerciser, it remembers the weights they used last time. It gives them a strength test every 6 to 8 sessions so that they don't plateau, where historically, if I were to go in and get a trainer to give me a program, I might be doing the same exact weight 6 months later without thinking that I need to do something different. We also offer Eat Love, which is personalized nutrition. It's leveraging the AI stuff out there. So if somebody wants to put in their dislikes or their allergies, it's no longer going to recommend meals that have those things in it. So, our members are used to getting more hyper personalized stuff through social media, through Netflix, through Amazon. I mean, those are things that we have to get better at delivering. There's good and there's bad with it. We can't hyper personalize the pool temperature. We can't hyper personalize, the cardio that we offer. So we still have to make decisions that work for the vast majority of our members. But where we can personalize, I think it's expected and appreciated.
That's so true. Yeah. JT, do you want to share something before I pipe in with Jason's remarks?
Yeah, Jason can go last. Um, well, I reckon the easy answer and I agree with both Matt and Paul and John about personalization. That's to me, it is a non-negotiable. But I'd actually say, I guess, as far as saying that's a non-negotiable as of now.
Mm,
So if we're thinking a little bit, futuristically, I think the easy answer would be to embrace the the subsequent supply of medical treatments for longevity that
okay.
are coming out, and then layering in mental fitness, physical fitness for people who are using that supplementation to add years to their life and life to their years. I think that would be the really easy answer of where our next step will be of non-negotiable. But I'm actually going to go further and say to what we've already discussed, and that is the education is critical and a non-negotiable in developing a wellness environment in our facilities. When I grew up in the industry, we were gym users who became gym owners. So our gyms always had something that was built on our own training philosophies. And then in recent years, we've seen a heck of a lot of gym owners who are investors who just have an interest in fitness and working out. So training philosophies were maybe brand centric, or they were around the interest of that investor. Today, and I would say we can probably count them on one hand globally, people who truly understand the integration of physical fitness training and wellness training. Yeah, that's an interesting concept. So I think there's a genuine lack of deep interest, deep education, and a philosophy around that. And so the end result is, for the last 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, fitness is built a lot on the passion of the people that owned it. And now I think when we add in this wellness, we're not necessarily passionate about it. And so wellness is just a commodity, or just, yeah, a commodity of the service. So I think over the next 5 years, we've got to add in, as Matt said, wearables. We've got to add in AI. We've got to add in future medical breakthroughs. Education is going to be a critical non-negotiable to formulate our brand training philosophies. So if fitness facilities want to be competitive in the wellness space and produce results, then education of owners and then education of staff just has to be non-negotiable. We
Mhm.
can't rely on passion. We've got to rely on education.
And if you're not open to and educating yourself on the latest technology and tools and things that are available, then you're ultimately failing your members and potentially, you know, not going to have a successful business.
Correct.
Okay. Jason said that the wellness shift that he thinks is a non-negotiable for fitness facilities in the next 3 to 5 years has to be that owners and operators have to consider their members' voices for these types of decisions to include and shift towards the holistic and wellness trends. So I think that kind of combines the personalization and the education aspect, which I love, because he sent these to me before we had this conversation. But yeah, some fun thoughts there. All right. It does not look like we have any questions, but let's give another minute or two to our audience to ask those. Any closing thoughts from my panelists here?
I'll just say that, in getting back to the retention issue, keeping people a part of the fitness community and the health and wellness community for life, essentially. We talked about the different things that, can come into play in doing that, but, reaching the customer, trying to figure out what they need, what their needs are, educating them on how you might be able to serve those needs, and then keeping them into the process and invested in coming into the facility and doing the things they need to do to be successful for the long term, not just the next couple of months, I think is key.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a question here from Jill, or Matt, did you have something to say to that before we?
Just quickly, I was gonna agree with Justin's point about education. Like, members can't work out at our facility or benefit from our facility if they're injured. So we have to make sure that we're giving them good advice and again, working through the noise of what they're seeing out there to make sure that they're reaching their goals safely.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that. So our question is from Jill, and I'll leave it up to you guys as to who wants to answer, but I do have a feeling here about one of you. Is it all about having large facilities? I've been in the industry for 45 years, and wellness was and still is my basis and philosophy for running my boutique business. Do you believe only the very large facilities can offer the holistic inclusions, or is there still a space for the small ones?
Well, I hope there's a space for the small. That's what we're in.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna
I'm
say.
surprised. I mean, I think certain parts of the country have adapted that, and there are. I remember my last trip out to California. There were a lot of these, smaller kind of wellness facilities that had a lot of different services. There's not a lot around in the East Coast. And I think when people come into my club and they're moving, let's say, but members for years, they're like, and they come back or they message me or whatever, and they're like, I can't find anything like what you have anywhere. I think people respond to it. I think there's I'm shocked that there's not more of it. I mean, the only reason I really was able to do it was because my brother was on the medical side of it and I had the fitness side. So we really kind of fell into it a little bit. But the fact that there's not more of those operating that way, where you can be a real community club and still provide not everything, but the real most important parts of it, and then have those other things available for people that need it. I think it's a real good long-term opportunity for clubs in that manner.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.
And being a large club, I would say there's absolutely a place for the other smaller clubs or smaller offerings. I mean, there's a diverse population out there that are going to want to work out in a place that they're comfortable with or work out. I mean, there's a large intimidation factor that we have to work our members through when you come in and you come to a club that large. Like, that's a huge advantage for smaller clubs. We try our best, but we're not going to know all 15,000 people by name. So there's a place for everybody. You just do the best you can and show up for your customer, and there's a place for you.
Awesome. JT, John, anything to add? All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, our guests, and also a very big thank you to JT, Paul, and Matt for joining our panel, and then also John, of course. Thanks for joining me on this one. It's been such a pleasure to have this conversation today, and I know I learned a lot and certainly lots to think about looking forward into the coming years and what's next with regard to wellness and how do we make our fitness facilities, more all-encompassing and holistic. So thank you all again, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you.